During the German invasion of the Soviet Union, also Croatians fought on the side of the Germans. These men came from the notorious Independent State of Croatia and joined the Croatian Legion. Who these men were and why they volunteered and how did they fight on the Eastern Front, that and more you will learn today. In this video I'm gonna talk about the Croatian Legion. Hey, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new, be sure to hit that subscribe button and do not forget to hit the notification bell so you will become part of the hustle. In order to discuss the origins of the Croatian Legion, we need to discuss the establishment of the Independent State of Croatia. Now, this state saw the light of day after the demise of the Yugoslav state that was overrun by the German armies in April 1941. The Independent State of Croatia. You know, whenever there's a word in the title of a country that wants to emphasize a certain character, it's mostly quite the opposite. So in other words, the Independent State of Croatia was as independent as the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, aka North Korea, is democratic. If you get what I mean, the Independent State of Croatia was a puppet state. The Independent State of Croatia, or NDH in short, was led by Croatian fascist Ante Pavelić, who was in charge of the Croatian Fascist Party, the Ustasha. The NDH would go down in history as one of the most murderous states, with mass murders on Serbs, Jews, Roma and Sinti, together with brutal concentration camps. The whole story of the NDH deserves an episode of its own, whether in the playlist of countries during World War II or the short-lived state playlist. But in this video I'm going to focus on the Croatians that served for the Axis powers during the Second World War. And the most noteworthy army formation was the Croatian Legion. It was also known as the 396th Croatian Reinforced Infantry Regiment. It was named Reinforced because of its attached artillery battalion, normally not part of German regiments. In July 1941, Ustasha leader Pavelić, he urged for volunteers, Croats between the age of 20 and 32 to join the Croatian Legion. According to Pavelić, the initiative came from below. In other words, ordinary men, they wanted to take part in the crusade against Bolshevism. On the other hand, Pavelić wanted to do his part in the crusade against Bolshevism. So, which theory is nearer to the truth? The driving force behind the creation of the Legion was the Ustasha leadership, motivated by a number of factors, including national prestige and an overly optimistic reading of the chances of German success. On 24th of June 1941, 2 days after Germany attacked the Soviet Union, Siegfried Kasché sent a telegram to Joachim von Ribbentrop mentioning a letter Mladen Lorković, the Croatian foreign minister, wanted to forward to the Führer from the Ohlavnik. Among other things, the letter mentioned the desire of Slavko Kvaternik, the supreme head of the Croatian armed forces, to establish a volunteer unit which could be used in operations in the east, in this way strengthening the ancient Croat-German military brotherhood. The letter added, though, that some soldiers had already asked Kvaternik for permission to fight shoulder to shoulder with their German comrades. In such a way, Croatia would make its sacrifice for the new Europe. Over the course of the summer of 1941, Ustasha officials gave speeches throughout the country to emphasize that they needed to help their German brothers, because it were the Germans who had liberated them, because the Germans, they overthrew the Yugoslav state, of which the NDH was carved out of. See, the Russian Bolsheviks, they were seen as the big brother of Serbia, and it was Serbia that was calling the shots in the previous Yugoslav state. Therefore, it was needed to set up a Croatian Legion to join Hitler's crusade. In the first week, around 5,000 men joined, of which 4,000 were selected. Their reasons were diverse: patriotic, ideological, political, and religious. Also, Bosnian Muslims, they joined the Legion. Some men joined because they were already disappointed by the violent and chaotic reality of the new Croatian state. Although officially it was part of the regular Croatian army, the Domobrans, and recruits wore Croatian national insignias on their arms and helmets, essentially the Legion constituted a unit of foreign volunteers within the Wehrmacht. Training took place in Austria. Mid-August, the first units were transported by train to Bessarabia and from there marched to Poltava in Ukraine on foot. An 800-kilometer march which lasted 35 days. From there, they advanced on muddy roads and had their first encounter with the Soviet army on October the 9th near a village of Budinskaya. From that point, they reached the German 100th Jäger Division. Some days later, they were lined up on the Dnieper River and later participated in the battles of Valka and Kharkiv. In November, a major battle across the Mies River followed. As the temperatures plummeted, so did morale. Many fell ill, and many requested to be sent home, which in most cases wasn't granted. Those who were sent home were those who fell seriously ill or because of disciplinary reasons. Some were even executed because of military offenses. Meanwhile, a gift campaign from home was set up, and in December, many gifts were sent to the Croatian Legionnaires on the Eastern Front. However, these gifts reached them by spring, as the mood at home remained positive and upbeat. It was literally and spiritually a world away from the Croat volunteers on the Eastern Front. As historian Rory Yeomans wrote, "The evidence of disillusion on the part of the legionnaires who had only recently and enthusiastically volunteered for service expressed a more profound truth. Soldiers and citizens, in the first 5 months at least, were not just separated by geography, but a gulf in understanding too. Different fronts meant fighting different wars." Mid-January 1942, the 100th Jäger Division was deployed to Izum on the Donetsk River to repel a Soviet breakthrough. They fought in terrible winter conditions, but did hold their ground. By April, reinforcements arrived, and in May they took part in the Second Battle of Kharkov. Over the course of the summer, the Croatians fought in Operation Fall Blau and saw heavy combat as they pushed towards the Volga. In September, the Croatians fought their way to the city of Stalingrad and fought in the Red October factory. By that time, there were barely 1,000 Croatians left. The last official report dated from the 21st of January 1943, counting 443 infantry and 444 artillerymen that were left. At the end of that month, the Stalingrad pocket largely surrendered, and so the 396 Reinforced Infantry Regiment ceased to exist. With 6,000 men having served in their ranks, 886 were killed in action, 935 missing in action, and thousands wounded in action. And in a video that was made by TIK History, or is it TIK History? I'm not sure. Anyway, he pointed out that many of the Croat POWs that were captured by the Soviets would later serve in the 1st Yugoslav Brigade to fight against the Axis. After the demise of the 369th RAR, 3 more Croatian legions were set up: the 369th and 373rd and 392nd Croatian Infantry Divisions. These men all fought within the Yugoslav territory against Yugoslav partisans. Many, near the end of the war, surrendered to the British, only to be handed over to the Yugoslav partisans, and many of them were executed. And if you think we're done, well, we're not, because several more pro-Axis Croatian army formations existed. Here they are. The Italian-Croatian Legion. Apart from Germany, also Italy requested men for its Italian-Croatian Legion on the Eastern Front. Although Pavelic wasn't happy about this, he did provide Italy with the Light Motorized Battalion, LMB. It consisted of Croatian men that were planned for the 369th RAR, but were allocated to this formation that consisted of 1,215 men in total. In April 1942, they arrived on the Eastern Front to join the Italian 8th Army. They fought in Ukraine and found its demise at the end of that year when the Soviets overran them during Operation Little Saturn. The unit's appearance seemed to be very mixed, with the uniforms cut to the Croatian pattern from Italian material and weapons from Yugoslavian, German and Italian origin. Then there was the Second Croatian Legion. Under pressure of the Italians, a Second Croatian Legion was established in May 1943. The plan was to create a force of around 4,000 men, but it still underwent training when Italy surrendered in September that year. The Germans took control of the unit and the men fought against Italian and Slovene partisans. Near the end of that year, the unit was disbanded and used to reinforce other units. Furthermore, there were Croatian Air Force, Naval and Anti-Aircraft Legions. It consisted of Croatians that had previously served in the Yugoslav Army and the Royal Yugoslav Navy and were formed within the Luftwaffe and German Navy respectively. Anti-aircraft units defended German cities until the end of the war, such as Munich and Frankfurt. Well, so much for their successes. And I know, some of you, they have these itchy fingers because they want to type a comment about, you forgot to mention about the Handschar Division. And I'm talking about the 13th SS Mountain Division Handschar and the 23rd SS Mountain Division Kama. It was one of these peculiar army formations that I'll promise I'll cover more in depth in another video. Both consisted out of Bosnian Muslims. The first one was named Handschar and set up by SS boss Himmler and approved by Hitler early 43. The Nazis wanted to rally the world's Muslim population against the British Empire. Croatian leader Pavelic wasn't too happy about it, since he wanted to keep these men to serve his own state and not the SS. He reluctantly agreed. Some 21,000 men served. Mid-1944, another Muslim SS division saw the light of day, the SS Kama. It could barely muster 4,000 men. Both divisions mutinied, by the way. And we haven't even talked about the Croatian inland forces, like the Croatian Home Guard, as well as police and Ustasha units, such as the Black Legion. You know, it's an interesting phenomenon. You set out to explore a certain historical subject only to realize that there is so much more left to cover. Well, guess I won't run out of things to cover anytime soon. Thanks to my patrons, and a special thanks to Peter King, Tanya Dixie, Henry Clarkson, Rob Park, RL, and Colin Castleman. If you want to learn about the Eastern Legions that were set up by the Germans during the Second World War, you can click here and here. Please consider becoming a patron, because with your donations I can keep doing this and expand. I want to thank you for watching. Do not forget to subscribe. We're done.